Welcome back. We're looking at chapters 3 and 4 of Seminar 3 on the Psychoses. A good place to start with Lacan is usually at the beginning and the end of any of his seminars. And so I'd like to begin at the end of chapter 4 on page 56, the third paragraph down where he talks about several othernesses. Let's read through this. I think it gives us a pretty good introduction to what he's been up to in the previous chapter, chapter 3, and here in chapter 4. He says there are several possible othernesses on page 56 that we shall see, and we shall see how they manifest themselves in a complete delusion like Schreber's. First, there are day and night, the sun and the moon, those things that always return to the same place, which Schreber calls the natural world order. A great way to start talking about this natural world order is with the term that Lacan often uses, the real. Here we are talking about material reality. Again, you've heard me refer to this as the tile that falls off the roof and hits you on the head. It's the snake that leaps out from the rock and bites you on the leg. It's whatever is stuck to the bottom of your foot at present. The real is sunrise in San Francisco. These are the elements of material reality that you can certainly symbolize, you can certainly imagine, but they are material elements that at some level resist symbolization and at some level always resist imaginary efforts. So it's interesting that it's captured here as day and night, sun and moon. Think of this as natural order. Then there is the otherness of the other with a capital O that corresponds to the capital S. That is the big other. The subject who is unknown to us, very important here, this emphasis on unknown. The other who is symbolic by nature. The other one addresses oneself to beyond what one sees. This corresponds with the symbolic. So the first definition corresponds to what Lacan calls the real. This definition of the other corresponds to the symbolic. There's a lot of attention paid to the symbolic in chapters 3 and 4, so we're going to return to that in a moment. But I just want to help you put your finger on the concept here. The word is symbolic. And like the word the real, you can look up the symbolic in the Dylan Evans dictionary and get a better sense of what he's up to here. Now we come to a third type of otherness, here on page 56. In between, and here we presume in between the real and the symbolic, there are objects. And then at the level of S, there is something that is of the condition, of the dimension of the imaginary, the ego and the body, whether fragmented or not, but more fragmented than not. Okay, here is the third key Lacanian register for us to consider, and that is the imaginary. So the othernesses that he's putting out here are first real, second symbolic, and third imaginary. What the psychotic does with these three registers, we're going to see. But for now, I think it's important for us to just wrap our heads around these three, and that's where we'll return to next.